35F, 37 meters. I just found out my husband has a child from before we were married. My husband, 37 meters, and I, 35F, have been married since 2020. We dated 2 years before. He's always been very open and honest with me to the best of my knowledge. He's told me about some of his exes but not in great detail. Yesterday he got a call from his brother, who lives a few towns over from the one my husband moved from before he moved here. His brother's girlfriend works at a daycare center. He was there picking her up when he saw one of my husband's ex-girlfriend at the center, dropping off a young kid. My brother-in-law went over and began talking to her and she was somewhat evasive. But my bill said it was unmistakable that the girl she was dropping off was the spitting image of my husband. And she was around kindergarten age, which means she was born right around the time my husband moved here and met me. My husband reached out to this ex, Jess, 24F, who up until this point I didn't know about except that they broke up before he moved here. She confirmed that the kid was his, and that she didn't tell him about her because their breakup was rough and she said she didn't want to contact him at all. She didn't give any reasoning past that. My husband was understandably upset at this and I'm not entirely sure what his next move is going to be. After this conversation he went to bed and had left for work by the time I woke up this morning. I don't know how I feel about this or how to process this at all. I've always wanted kids but I'm unable to have them. My husband and I talked about adopting before but this isn't something I think I know how to navigate. I looked up his ex on social media and the kid does look exactly like my husband. It's unmistakable. It kind of makes me want to cry. I know this is all new and I need to process this, but this is just something I never imagined I'd be dealing with. #edit I'm absolutely not trying to take this child from her mother. I would never do that. ! I think you should be more concerned about why the barely legal teenager thought her breakup with a 32-year-old man was so rough that she couldn't even tell him she was pregnant. That's dodgy AF. How old was he when he impregnated someone who was barely an adult back then? There's a reason you didn't know much about her. He groomed a teenager and got her pregnant. As the mother of a 21-year-old son, I remember how incredibly immature he was at 18. And at 19. If a 30-plus-year-old was sniffing around him, taking him out, and doing the nasty with him, I'd be horrified and disgusted. And your husband did that to a very young woman, and knocked her up, and she'd rather be a single mom with no child support than let him know. I suspect your husband has some very unpleasant characteristics he's been hiding from you until you were completely locked down. For a teenager to have a baby and not ask for any kind of support, I think it would have to be a pretty bad relationship. That should be your main concern. Because I assume she was 18 when she got pregnant, and likely in the relationship before that, with a man in his 30s? Yikes. Who's gonna tell her? I'm sorry, but your story sounds like the worst kind of book trope. The infertile woman finds out her husband has a baby with his ex. Only your husband is also a predator since he slept with a barely legal teenager. What a creep. Why would you want to put yourself through all the heartache and pain of helping raise another woman's child with him? He's not worth the angst. Leave him because he's nasty. I'd be more concerned about the reason the breakup was rough. This girl was a teenager when your 32-year-old husband broke up with her. This is probably gonna be all kinds icky and predatory. I'm wondering how long did they date? And why did he feel the need to be in a relationship with an 18 or 19-year-old? So many unanswered questions, and now I would be questioning everything about him. Good luck and please update. At least in your case. It wasn't just you who found out 4 years later. He didn't know either. He wasn't intentionally keeping it from you. So hopefully you can take some comfort in that. This is a difficult position for you to be in. I can't exactly empathize. But like most difficult situations in life, you just need to give yourself some time. He's undoubtedly going to need some time too. Please try not to let it discourage you from continuing the relationship. Neither of you has done anything wrong. You'll work through it together and it will be okay. A girl managed to escape a toxic age gap relationship, despite being baby-trapped, by not mentioning the pregnancy at all. That does not mean her baby is up for grabs for you to play mommy. Even if your husband is the sperm donor, it's likely she wants nothing to do with her groomer or his wife and is now absolutely terrified of him claiming the child and controlling her via that child. If your husband wants a relationship with his child, then he needs to go to court. It isn't just the mother's decision to make. That being said, do not use this opportunity to make a family with this child for your benefits. It sounds like you might think this is your chance and it isn't. Your husband needs to go slow for the child's benefit and you shouldn't pressure the kid. Both you and your husband need to think of the best interest of the child, which is making sure his mother is comfortable with any arrangement. He's entitled to know his child and the child is entitled to know his father. If your husband isn't 100% committed to being a dad, then do not pursue it. I found out. ? Know it, we found out. Shouldn't you be more worried that you are with a predator? And honestly, I hope the poor woman has help making sure that he pays for his kid and can protect her from whatever shenanigans from thinking he has a right to this child. She was a freaking teen who was so scared she didn't tell this person she was pregnant. People are going to go after this guy for the age difference here. But I'll concentrate on the child. A similar situation happened to a relative of mine, though he was not married when he found out about the child. I've got a little knowledge about this. Your husband needs to think this through. The worst thing for a kid is inconsistency. So this child does not need someone showing up to play dad and then disappearing. This will be a lifelong commitment to being a father, if he wants to be a good one. And it will affect you as well, because you may end up a stepmother to this child, depending on how often she's around. Financially, your life could be affected. Though so far the mother hasn't filed for child support, she certainly could if your husband decides to get involved. Don't make a snap decision about this. And try your best to talk him out of making one as well. Children are a forever commitment. A lot of people are pointing out the age gap with your husband. And honestly, I dated someone his age when I was his ex's age. It was not a great relationship by any stretch of the imagination. The thing is, my ex and I didn't speak after that. It didn't end too terribly, but it was enough to leave me in a very emotional state where I wouldn't have wanted to reach out to him had I needed something from him. So it's quite possible, given her age, that she was emotionally hurt from the breakup, and nothing absolutely terrible happened. But it's definitely something you need to discuss with him. However, you're trying to move past finding out that your husband has a child now, especially when you can't have one. I think you're going to have to give him time to process it and take time for yourself to process it as well. This is a huge shock to both of you. Just take it one day at a time. Therapy down the line might help you with the emotions you're feeling as well. I was hoping it was a typo and 24 should be 34. Does your husband plan to sue for custody and take this child away from her mother, the only parent she knows, so that he and you, complete strangers, can take her into your home? You can't have kids, so he's going to force her mother to give her to him? You should not be dealing with this because your husband should leave this young woman alone. The age difference alone is reason enough for him to go away. There is absolutely no need to disrupt this child's life. Your husband needs to meet this child and have a paternity test and start to support the child financially and have a relationship with the child. First maybe as a distant uncle and slowly as her father. Don't rush into this little girl's life. Just to be clear, your husband just discovered he has a child. And your entire response is about how you feel. Sounds healthy.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Haircast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.